Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 15 of At the Kitchen Table podcast. This is the podcast where we slow things down, pull up a chair, and have an honest conversation about life, leadership, relationships, community, and the lessons we often find in ordinary moments. I'm your host, Jason Klink, and today I want to talk about something that seems fairly simple, but may be more important than we might realize. I want to talk about having better conversations with the people in our lives that we love. Not formal conversations, not planned family meetings, not sitting everyone down and announcing that it's time to discuss something important. I'm talking about the conversations that happen naturally around the dinner table, around the kitchen table, in the car, on the back porch, or anywhere else life slows down long enough for people to really talk. Because when we give people the space to speak and when we are willing to truly listen, we may learn something we may never expected. There's something about sitting around a dinner table that has always felt very different for me, pretty special. Maybe it is because the table is one of the few places where life is supposed to slow down, at least for a little while. You sit down, there's always food, and hopefully the people you care about are there. For a few minutes, nobody is supposed to be running out the door, answering a phone call, handling a problem, or checking something off of a to do list. Of course, that is not always how it works. Sometimes dinner is rushed because somebody has practice, somebody is working late, somebody is tired, or somebody is staring at their phone. The television is playing in the other room, notifications on your phone keep going off, and everyone is sitting together without really being together. I think that's what happens more often than we might realize. We can spend an entire evening in the same room with the people that we love and never really talk to them. We discuss the schedule, what time somebody has to leave in the morning, who needs a ride, whether the dog has been fed, whether the bill has been paid, or what we might need from the grocery store. Those conversations matter because life requires logistics, but sometimes logistics become the only conversations we have. We ask, "How was your day?" Typical answer is fine. We ask, "Anything happen?" And we hear, "Not really." We ask, "How was work?" And the typical answer is busy. Then dinner ends, the dishes get cleared, everyone heads in different directions. We feel like we checked the box because we ate together. But there's a difference between eating together and connecting with each other. I've been thinking a lot lately about, and probably because I'm getting older, the more I realize how much you can learn from people when you talk or you give them the room to just speak. That includes the people you think you know better than anyone. You can live with someone for years and still be surprised by a story they have never told you. You can raise a child and suddenly realize they have developed opinions, interests, fears, and dreams that you knew nothing about. You can sit across from your spouse and discover that something they wanted 10 years ago is no longer what they want today. People change, and while that sounds obvious, familiarity can sometimes fool us into believing that the people closest to us have stopped changing. We know their routines. We know what they order when they go to the restaurant. We know the stories they always tell. We know what makes them laugh and what irritates them. Without meaning to, we can stop being curious about who they are becoming. Think about the beginning of a relationship. When you first meet someone, you ask questions about everything in their lives. You want to know where they grew up, what their family was like, what music they listened to, where they would travel if they could go anywhere in the world, and what they want to do with their lives, both professionally and personally. You can talk for hours because everything is new and every answer leads somewhere else. Then life gets busy. Those conversations slowly shift from dreams and stories to calendars, responsibilities, work, money, and what has to happen next. Those practical conversations are necessary, but I do not think a relationship can live very long on logistics alone. At some point, you have to look at the person sitting across from you and wonder who they are now, not who they were when you met them, not who you assume they are. Who are they today? What are they excited about? What are they completely afraid of? What are they quietly hoping will happen in their lives? What are they carrying that they have not found the right time to talk about? What are they keeping in internally? You never really know what's going on inside another person. Someone can be sitting at the dinner table laughing while worrying about something they have not told anyone about. They might be thinking about changing careers. They might be struggling at school. They might be feeling left out by their friends. They might be proud of something but afraid nobody else will think it's truly important. They might have a question they have been waiting days to ask, and sometimes all they need is that opening, that open door just to ask that question. That opening does not always come from asking, "How was your day?" That question has become almost too automatic. We ask it without really thinking, and people answer it the same way. Again, too automatic. They'll say good, fine, busy, I'm okay. Every once in a while, though, somebody says something a little different, and the entire conversation changes. Maybe someone mentions the funniest thing that happened during the day. Maybe they talk about something that frustrated them during their day. Maybe an ordinary conversation about school turns into a discussion about friendship, pressure, confidence, or feeling like they just don't fit in. Maybe a comment about work becomes a conversation about purpose. Maybe a story about an old family tradition leads to something you never knew about your parents or your grandparents. Those are those are the real conversations that stay with you. I know they stay with me. The interesting thing is that you usually cannot plan them. The best conversations that I've ever had rarely begin with someone announcing that the family is now going to have a meaningful discussion. That would probably clear the table pretty quickly. They usually begin with something quite small. It could be a joke, a memory, a random question, something someone saw online, or maybe they were scrolling on social media and they came across something. Could have been something that happened at work. It could be a simple disagreement about a movie. Then one person says something honest, and then the conversation goes in a direction nobody expected. That is part of what makes sitting around a table, like the kitchen table, so powerful. There's nowhere the conversation has to go. It can be a serious 1 minute and ridiculous the next minute. You can talk about politics if you choose to, sports, childhood memories, mistakes, food, travel, your family history, or something that happened 20 or 30 years ago. You might laugh until you can't breathe. You might hear something that changes how you see someone. You might finally understand why a person reacts the way they do to something very specific. You might learn that a story you have heard 100 times has a part you never knew. I think we underestimate how much people want to be heard without being fixed, corrected, or immediately given advice. That can be difficult, especially when you care about someone. When somebody shares a problem, our instinct is try to fix it, try to solve it, or give them that advice. We jump in with what they should do, what they should have done, or what we would have done in their position. Sometimes that is helpful, but sometimes it can completely shut the conversation down. I've caught myself doing that. I've corrected myself doing that. Someone starts talking, and before they even finish, I'm already preparing that answer. At that point, I'm not really listening anymore because I'm waiting for my chance to respond and to be heard. I do not think I am alone in this, not by any means. Most of us are pretty good at, or probably not pretty good at listening as we might think that we are. Real listening requires patience. Listening and hearing are two totally different things. It means hearing something without immediately turning it into a lesson, a debate, or a story about us. That is especially true with our children. When children are young, they seem to tell you everything. They tell you what happened at lunch, who sat next to them, what somebody said on the bus, and a story that lasts 15 minutes but somehow never really gets to a conclusion. As they get older, the answers often get shorter. And the parents begin to wonder why they don't share as much anymore. Sometimes that is simply a part of growing up or just surviving their teenage years. But sometimes people stop sharing because every story becomes a correction, every opinion becomes a debate, and every mistake becomes a lecture. After a while, silence just feels easier. That does not mean parents should never guide their children. It does not mean we should agree with everything that people we love say at every given moment. It simply means there are moments when understanding matters more than responding. Sometimes someone needs to know that you heard them before they are ready to hear you. The same is true in marriage and friendships and in family. There's a difference between listening so you can respond and listening so you can understand. One might help you, one of those might help you with an argument. The other can deepen a relationship. None of this requires some perfect family dinner where everyone sits around a beautifully set table for an hour every night. That is not what real life for most people is all about. Sometimes dinner is pizza out of a box, sitting on the couch. Sometimes one person is eating before everyone else. Sometimes the conversation happens while cleaning the kitchen. Sometimes it happens in the car on the way home, while sitting on the back porch, or while standing in front of the refrigerator late at night. The location is really not the point. What matters is the pause and that moment when somebody feels like they have your full attention, being present when you're supposed to be present. We talk a lot about quality time, but I think quality time often begins with curiosity. It begins when you stop assuming you already know everything about someone and actually wonder what is going on in that person's world, or maybe even their current mindset. You might be surprised by what you hear. You might learn that your spouse has been thinking about trying something new. You might discover that your child is interested in something you never noticed. You might hear a story from your parents that explains something about your own childhood. You might learn that someone has been struggling and did not know how to bring it up. Or it may be nothing serious at all. It can be a simple laugh, tell old stories, or bring up an embarrassing memory that everyone remembers very differently. Those conversations matter too because become, not every moment has to become some kind of breakthrough. Sometimes connection is simply enjoying the people that are just sitting around you. The older I get, the more I understand that time around the table is not guaranteed. Our children grow up, people move on and move away, work schedules change all the time, families change. Seats that were once filled every night eventually become empty. There may come a time when you would give almost anything to sit through one more loud, messy, or ordinary dinner. You might miss one more pointless argument about what to watch, or one more story that takes entirely too long, or one more night where everyone talks over each other and nobody remembers to even clear the table. Those ordinary moments do not always feel important while they're happening, but they are often the moments we miss the most. Maybe the lesson is not that every dinner needs to be this deep, deep conversation. Maybe it's simply that we should be more present at the dinners that we do have. Maybe we listen a little longer, stay at the table a few extra minutes, ask about the story behind the short answer, and allow the conversation just to wander. People close to us still have things to teach us. They still have stories we haven't heard, thoughts we haven't shared or they haven't shared, and experiences that continue shaping who they are. Everyone's still growing, changing, questioning, and becoming. And so are we. This is why the kitchen table matters. It's not just where we eat, it's where we learn who the people in our lives truly and really are, and sometimes where we remember who we are too. Thank you for joining in and joining me at episode 15 of At the Kitchen Table podcast. It's been a solo episode for me. Until next time, continue to pull up a chair, stay a little longer, and pay attention to the conversation. You never know what you might learn. And as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great day.